Hey, so what's up guys, it's Pohdoh here, and this video is going to be a continuation from my talent tree video before. And this time, instead of talking about the fire tree, I'm going to be talking about the ice tree and what you should, and basically what's good and what's not good, and what everything does basically. So frozen mine, or not frozen mine, ice ground, that's probably the dumbest name I've ever heard, but anyways, I digress. So ice ground, pretty much in a nutshell, it increases your health by 50%. It allows you to stun a lot longer, and then it allows you to spam frost spells faster, and then it gets you frozen mind, which allows you to reset all your important spells or all your control spells, all your freezes instantly. You can use it every 1 minute. And yes, I know that's not the exact description, but that's more or less how it works, and that's all you if you're a beginner, that's all you really need to know about it. No need to get into the nitty-gritty about it. So anyways, I'm gonna be talking about the rest really fast, so hopefully this video isn't as long as the other one. Brazil, really useful if you're leveling. Really useful if you're leveling. And if you're a PvE spec, then I recommend having Brazil over the next talent, which is going to be Chill Brain, just because, you know, when it procs is really useful. And Chill Brain, you may think it's useless, but keep in mind that for a lot of your control spells, they are affected by spell hit. So you typically for PvP want to spec 3 into this so that you'll have 100% chance on 100% freeze chance on all your frost spells, including Winter Sleep. So keep assuming no diminishing return, that is. And Frost Blast, you spec it no matter what. You just spec it. There's no you do not debate this. You always spec Frost Blast. It freezes everyone around you for 4 seconds, and if your eyes, it freezes everyone around you for 6 seconds. That's really good. It's one of the best control spells, period. So anyways, there's Stone Armor. You know, all it really says is you can reduce the amount of physical damage you take by 40% for 20 seconds. That's all it really says. Don't worry about all the high numbers and all the scary numbers. Just know that it pretty much reduces all physical damage by 40 to 50% for 20 seconds. And then there's Gift of Earth. If you are in PvP, you spec 3 into this, or else you're gonna run out of mana. This is really important. If you don't want to run out of mana, more or less, it pretty much regens your mana by 21% every time you cast Cyclone, and Cyclone is a 15-second cooldown, so basically it translates to you will never run out of mana. Erudition. This isn't as bad as I thought it would be, but at the same time it isn't as good as some may claim it is. You want to spec 5 into it if you don't want to spec into anything else in the next 2 tiers, and I'll explain that later. And I'll explain that later when I go over my talents in the future videos. So Winter Sleep, if you're a PvP player, you spec this every single time. If you don't spec this, I don't know what you're doing. You should spec for all forms of PvP. Stone Spike. This used to be really good, except now it's diminishing return, so I would not recommend you to take it at all. All it pretty much says is that once your shield is, if you have Stone Armor up and your shield is broken, it'll stun whoever's attacking you 3 times, and then after that, all your stuns will be resisted for the next 15 seconds. Just keep that in mind. It is not useful, and there's a reason why no mage ever specs anymore. So don't spec it unless maybe you're like questing or something. Condense. I'll talk about this more in depth in a future video, but it just pretty much gives you back like 1.5k, 2k HP every time your Frostbolt crits, and that's assuming you have a high stamina with gems. So unless you have an incredibly high amount of HP or an incredibly high amount of gems, which is not possible unless you pay runes for high level gems, then don't spec this at all. It's honestly, it's overrated in my opinion, and a lot of the good mages will agree with me on that. And Deep Sleep. This is a talent that no one ever specs because it sounds good on paper, but it's not that great in reality. And trust me in this when I say it's not that great. See, that Winter Sleep already has a 1-second cast time, so it's not like you can have any difficulty, you know, using Winter Sleep in the first place. It was kind of useful back when Winter Sleep had a 3-second cooldown, but I mean, even then, it was still there's still better perks there's still better talents you can invest into. Rock Mass. If you're PvP and you can spec this, you will spec this. It pretty much says you take 30% less damage, because the only reason your shield will ever break and you're gonna be taking damage is if you're stunned. And then it allows you to take 30% less damage and stun. So all that really translates to is that you'll be taking 30% less damage overall. That's all it really means. Quick Freeze. Quick Freeze, this is something you always spec if you're an Ice Mage, and if you don't spec this, I honestly don't know what you're doing. All it says is that once your shield is broken, you can spam Frost Blast again. It resets the cooldown. It's really useful, and it will save you a lot of times. So spec it. Permafrost. This used to be good for World PvP, but it's not that good for World PvP anymore because it activates diminishing return, causing all your freezes to get resisted, and also it also caused the slow condition, the 80% slow condition, it'll go away in like 3 seconds just because of diminishing return. So don't take it. It won't even catch Sins. Like Sins will smoke bomb under it, and it'll make absolutely no difference. Rat the Frost. Never spec this. There's diminishing return now, and you're a bad mage if you spec it. That's all I'm gonna say. Neve. Neve is weird, and I'll talk about it in a future video. But I would not recommend Neve unless you have a shit ton of rune buffs and unless you have a shit ton of gems. That's all I have to say. Just because you're gonna be running out of mana really fast if you try using a Neve build without sufficient amount of gear, which is impossible to get unless you have a sufficient amount of runes. Which is impossible to get unless you're willing to pay like $500 in this game, which I think is crazy. So then, anyways, and then there's Ice Meteor, possibly one of the coolest spells in the game, in my opinion. I love the animation, but at the same time, it is possibly one of the most useless end talent spells in the game. It really is underwhelming. It's a 3-second cast time, and it does like 0 damage for the amount of cast time it has. So don't spec it. Don't spec it unless you're just trying to have fun, more or less. But I would recommend trying it out a few times if requesting, just because it looks really cool. So that's always a plus. So anyways, that's the end of the video. I pretty much briefly went over all the talents here, and then I'll be going over a lot of them more in depth later on in a future intermediate or advanced video, since there are some really neat mechanics behind it, and there's a lot of things you want to know, a lot more you want to know about it if you're trying to go for serious PvP specifically. So anyways, it's Pohdoh here. Rate, comment, subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. If you found it helpful, tell me in the comment section below. And then if you have any questions with the game, just post in the comment section below. I'll try my very best to answer it. See you guys.